Alrighty. Oh well. So we are going to cover a few things for basically new players for Path of Exile. Basically going to run through how to get the main trade tools, Awakened POE Trade, Path of Building, and how to set it up and basically make sure it's displaying your correct damages and outputs and all that sort of stuff for your character. We'll also cover the basic websites like POE Ninja and POE Lab and Filterblade for your loot filters and bits and pieces like that. So we'll make a start, and any questions just ask. We'll probably cover damage scaling and maps and bits and pieces towards the end, but we'll see how we go. So to start, Awakened POE Trade. Oh, welcome. So Awakened POE Trade, you can basically just Google Awakened POE Trade. It's the GitHub link at the top. Download your link for Windows. It'll download, install it, and then once you have got it in game, if you've got an item, for example, you can press, well, I think the default is Alt D to price an item, and it brings up the window here, and you basically select whether you've got 5 passives. You can select whether you want it to be, say, 4, 5, whatever, what base type it is, particular nodes that are of importance, and then you can search, and it brings up and tells you roughly what the price is for a particular item. You can also do it on other things, well, on everything. So this one here, for example, is just my body armor, nothing exceptionally special, but you can basically go, you know, I want spell suppression, it's got strength, non-cursors, and it's got resistances, and it'll basically tell you what that item is worth. If you want to see more information on what these items might be, you can click on the trade link, and it will actually open it up in the Path of Exile trade site, and you can go down and you can see, right, all these have all got spell suppression on them, and what the other mods are and what their costs are. So that's a pretty useful tool for finding out what things are worth. You've also got, for the likes of weapons and stuff like that, you can put in and select your DPS, your elemental DPS that you want to basically search for. Other nodes like attacks per second or attack speed, basically, your crit chance, and all your other mods. You can also set it based on item level and number of stats, etc., if you want to search for something specific, and then that will basically search and tell you what you've got. You also get some hidden modifiers as well, which generally are I don't have anything actually fractured items. If you select, say, a base item and search for something like that, it's different to if you just use the pseudo mods and just click the regenerate. See, that's now 1 chaos instead of a fractured mod, which was 5 chaos. So stuff like that helps When you've got 6 sockets or 6 links and things like that, you can also select the amount of links that you want it to search for as well, which is very handy for finding items and bits and pieces. So the other thing, there is other settings as well. In the top corner here, you can see what the current divine price to chaos conversion is. So half a divine's 111C. You can also change it for standard, ruthless, crucible, private leagues, and a few other things that you can change, and you can change your search buttons and bits and pieces as well. So if you want to change from Alt D to Control Alt D or anything like that, you can do that as well. Alright. Okay, next we'll go on to loot filters. Filterblade is basically the go-to for loot filters. So if you log out or log in, you can actually, there's 2 ways to do it. You can either create your filter, download it, and put it into your loot filter folder within Path of Exile, or you can actually sign in with your account. It is linked through your Path of Exile account. You just authorize it, and then you can basically create your loot filter. You can change colors of the way things show. You can then customize it generally to whatever you want. So normal currency and stuff, you can go awakeners, ancient orbs, catalysts. Then you can come down and you can say you didn't want chromatic orbs, or you did want chromatic orbs. You can go show or hide. Armor scraps, show, hide. There's special currency unique items. Unique items are obviously tier based, so your tier 1s are the very expensive uniques. Tier 2s not so much. Tier 3s boss drops and unique jewels and stuff like that. You can change all of those to basically show however you want. Generally, for starting out, you're probably just better off to use the standard settings. It keeps it nice and simple. So, say a strict one, semi-strict. You can actually go through here as well and simulate it. So if you want to, generate different types of loot, so that's showing items that are white with 3 linked sockets of various colors to sell for chromatic orbs, for example. You've also got like your orb of alterations and remnants and bits and pieces that you can generate valuable loot, and it'll show what it's going to show up like. You can customize your own colors and border colors and all sorts of shit as well. It's very customizable if you want to get into it, but once you're happy with it, you can go save and export, and you make it public or private or whatever. Call it I don't know, training test. Then you can go and call it, if you want to make it public and link it to your account, you can. You just give it a description and whatnot. This is what it's going to be in game. So if you sync and download. You can go save and sync it to your account directly, or you can save and download to your computer and then you put it in your folder. I normally just sync it and link it to my account, so that'll show that it's been done. So if we go in game, go into a map just for example, it's not under there, is it? No, it's there now. So you can go through and you can find all your filters. So this is the one that we've just done. So items show up on the ground. Unique items and stuff show up differently. And yeah, so that's Filterblade. That's basically one of your most useful tools for limiting the amount of crap that you see on your screen, because you will find that there is a lot of it once you get to the sort of later stages of the game and maps and things like that. Right.
There's a thing to note on Filterblade. It'll tell you if it thinks you're blocking like items that are worth picking up, I guess. So it's not going to be like, oh no, you blocked a mirror, and it's not going to not tell you, kind of thing. So it's pretty well set out.
Yeah.
The thing about loop filters too is, if you don't want to go back there to change your strictness, you know, if you didn't set up hardcore strict and semi-strict, you can actually click the download all strictness button, have them all there ready to go.
There you go.
Very, very customizable.
Especially
and a must.
starting in a new league and you want to keep some of the crappy currencies and stuff.
Yeah.
Have it on strict one, and then you don't need to go back to the website later or on in the league and change your strictness. It's all be ready to go.
Cool. All right. Next, onto probably the biggest time sink for most streamers and Path of Exile aficionados, I'd say, out of all of the extra tools. Path of Building. So, very, very complex tool. So again, just Google Path of Building Community Fork. I'll put links for all of these in the video that I saved later. And they're also in our Discord channel as well. So you just go and grab the latest release from GitHub. You just download it. Once it's exported and downloaded and everything, you can install it and open it, and you'll get a window. This is set up for all of my ones, but basically this will be a blank window. And you go in, create a new build, and it shows you your entire skill tree. You can basically choose your class, your various ascendancies. So Pathfinder, and it'll automatically highlight your starting point in your tree, or your ascendancy tree rather. Under import export, you can basically go in and basically anybody's build that you want, you can, as long as their account, you use their account name to search. As long as their account is public on the Path of Exile website, you'll be able to download and find their character information. So for example, if we look at mine, goodness, where are we there? So you can look at it through the current league, other sub-leagues that are on standard or all. You know, you can go through, you can find all of their previous characters. So if we have a look at this one here and import, this is my character. So you bring that in, it shows you your skill tree, shows you your skills. So, you know, in under the tab skills, you can see and look and see what levels they are, how they're linked. So see how these ones are highlighting in green. They are the linked gems. So, and you can see whether, you know, you can enable them, disable them. You can see what item they are in as well. You can label them, you can give them different names, you can add extra gems to it. Obviously this is never going to happen because it's a helmet, so you're never going to get 5 links in it, but you can do certain things like, say, put multiple in and then unselect one, unenable one gem, and you can see that it gives you, you know, an extra 2 levels on your skill gems, because that's what Empower does. Now looking at, say, your main attack skill, so in my instance this is lightning arrow, you're looking at your character, your average DPS and stuff like that, and you look at it and you go, shit, 216,000 DPS, that's pretty good. But what hasn't been done is you haven't set up any of the configurations. So for example, in this one I get power, frenzy and endurance charges. Now I've gone basically another 80k damage just for enabling those. I also get onslaught, I have tailwind, I generally have 50 rage, I have flasks active, I have killed recently. Now enemies are chilled, shocked and ignited generally on my character because I do all 3 elements. The lowest resonance count because I use Trinity on one of my skill gems, and because I deal all elements, the lowest is always going to be 50. Now my damage has gone from 200,000 to nearly 800,000. Now this next part works against you because this is the enemy stats page. So is your enemy just a standard white trash mob? You just go no. If it's a standard map boss or, you know, act boss, you click on that and then your damage will drop, but it's gaining, you know, resistances, extra life, extra armor and evasion bases. So you go to like a pinnacle boss, which is your Eater of Worlds, your Cyrus, your, you know, your end game content, and then your damage drops down to, you know, 560,000. That number is your total combined DPS. So your tooltip in game. So for example, this is my character as it is now. So your average DPS, you're looking at like 81,000 when you're in a map. So my tooltip, just standing in hideout with no charges, is 62,000. If we go in here and we disable, you know, your frenzy, your endurance charges, your average damage is about right. But because certain things like bow skills, you're firing multiple projectiles, this tooltip damage is per projectile as opposed to, say, a spell where it might be one cast, your damage might show 200,000 or 50,000 or whatever it might be. That is based on per cast. So bow skills are a little bit different in that regard. There's also brands as well, which are another skill that basically have an activation time, and they might activate 20 times a second at whatever your tooltip damage is. So there's various interactions and mechanics that work with different skills and different parts of it. So the other beautiful thing about Path of Building is you can actually modify your skill tree. So say for example you're looking to respec something, or you want to, you know, see what something does to your build, you can just unspec a whole heap of stuff. See, so that few nodes took, you know, 160k damage off of my build just for dropping 4 nodes. Then you can also go along and put in extra nodes, see whether that gives you more damage or more survivability, or how you want to do it. You can also see your ascendancy. So for example, if I decided I didn't want that, I could take that out. My damage drops back a bit. Can hit a different ascendancy. See, well, that gives me a little bit more damage back, but not as much. So you can change it back. And this doesn't cost anything. If you're trying to do it in game and trying to respec and whatnot, you're obviously using regret orbs. And if it doesn't work, then you've got to spend more regret orbs to undo it. So it's quite handy, and this sort of leads into our next sort of topic as well, but I'll cover that.
Hey Scott, just before you move on to the next part, go back to the tree for a second. Zoom in on a node that you've allocated and just explain, like, it's a bit hard to see where your mouse is already on it, but like the damage it'll give you, or the, like those red and green when you're hovering over it, it's a bit easier to see what it's going to give you. Yeah, you can explain it.
Yeah. So as Mush has just pointed out as well, so for example, this acuity node here, the node itself gives you attack speed, accuracy rating, and global accuracy rating, which is fine. It also tells you what oils, if you want to anoint it onto your amulet, which is another sort of a slightly more advanced crafting thing. We can cover that later on. But at the bottom here, it also gives you a bit of a breakdown of what unallocating or allocating the node will give you. So this one here, for example, if I unallocate this node, I'm going to lose 5.5k damage, which over the combined DPS works out at about 120k. Which, if you undo it, yep, 430 to 560, basically, to 430. You're also losing the mastery on that as well, but that's something else. So masteries, you can basically, once you've taken a notable, which are the larger points on the skill tree, you can activate the mastery, and it takes another skill point. So for example, if I take that off, you can't activate the mastery without activating the node. So if you do that, it'll automatically allocate it on here. You won't be able to do that in game. You have to allocate this node first. And so, for example, something like this would give me an extra frenzy charge, and it gives me an extra 23k total DPS to my skill. Now, under the calculations, page as well. This is something that a lot of people don't understand because it is as confusing as it looks. So basically your skill hit damage or your skill damage is here, so it breaks it down for you into the different elements, or physical damage. Shows you where your base damage is coming from, where your multipliers are coming from, extra flat, extra percentage damage. Shows you what your average sort of main hand hit is, and your total skill DPS. Then you've got your attack speed, accuracy, all these extra bits. Generally, unless you're trying to find something very specific on what's doing something on your build, you generally don't need to look at this page too much. But it is very good to help if you're looking for, say, you want to find out where your armor is coming from and how much percentage of evasion, in this instance, and where you're getting either flat or percentage increases from. So you can, if you click on it, it will highlight it so you can actually see, and it'll show you whereabouts on the tree you're actually getting it from as well. Same with, armor and your resistances and stuff like that, so you can see where you're getting, what items you're getting it from, whether you're getting flat or base. Yeah, so that pretty much covers the sort of the basic usage of Path of Building. There is a couple of other things that you can do as well. This is just a recently added thing, but you can create a party. So if you're having a support character or whatever, you can actually add all your support's gear in as well, and it will show you a DPS for your character based on the support and all that sort of stuff. That's relatively new. I haven't had a play with that yet. Probably the last thing, which is quite good, I suppose, for new players to find upgrades. You've got this option here under the items thing called trade for these items. Now you can go in here, you can go Solo Self-Found, Crucible, whether you want to include enchantments on gear, which doesn't really matter unless it's a helmet in this instance, but so say for example my my body armor that we looked at before, so it's got spell suppression, strength, evasion, and lightning res. If we wanted to, say, find an upgrade for it, you can go find best, whether you want corrupted mods or eldritch mods, either you want a particular influence on it, you can select those as well, and your maximum price. So if you've only got, say, 100 chaos, you can go chaos, divines, whatever you want, then you go execute. Then it gives you a link to the trade website, so you can go control click. Why is that not? Oh, there it goes. So then it will give you a link to the website, and when you go under the filters, it's got all these weighted sum things. Now, depending on what you're wanting, so I mean, you can delete a few of these that you're not gonna need. Percent attributes, for example, is not one that I need. Armor and evasion is fine. And you can take away a few of the things that you don't need, and then you can add a stat group So say you want it to absolutely have life. You can just say you absolutely have to have life and it needs to be above 80. And then you can hit search. And it gives you these, and it's like, you look at it and go, well, these are really cheap and they're not really any better than what I've got, or they're a lot worse. You can click on the sum at the bottom here, and that will basically take it to something that has got the highest chance of being an upgrade, statistically based on the sums that it calculated for you. So, you know, you can look at these sort of things and you can go, right, well, that's got 100 life, it's got chaos resistance, it's got flat crit chance, or sorry, base crit chance. And it's only 40C. And you can go, well, is that going to be an upgrade for my build? On the trade website, you can actually copy the item with this little button on the side here. You can go back into Path of Building and Control V, paste it, and add it to the build. And then you can put it in and you can go, yeah, that gives me a lot of base crit and my damage has gone up. So it's gone from 560 to 611. I mean, is that a huge upgrade? Not especially. But it's enough of an upgrade that, you know, especially if you're new to the game, you can quite comfortably do stuff like that. And I mean, if you're taking a new character and you're just getting through the acts and you're like, well, I've been using this same weapon or this same armor from Act 5 and you're now in Act 10 and you've only got 5 chaos to spend, using that you can quite comfortably find something that's going to be probably a reasonably good upgrade. And that's, you know, that's a cheap, fast way of basically knowing that you're going to get something that's going to improve your build, rather than looking at something and going, well, it sort of looks like it will, but in actuality it really doesn't. So so that's the basic sort of overview of Path of Building. There's obviously a lot more that you can get into. You know, you can create custom items and bits and pieces, which realistically a lot of people generally just create custom items when they're making build guides and stuff for necessary stats, and then leaving the rest of the item blank. So for example, on my body armor, I might just go armor and evasion, lightning res, and spell suppression if I didn't need any of the other stats, and I could just create an item like that. So that's another option. So we will move on from this, from Path of Building, and we will go to the trade website, which is probably going to be one of your most commonly visited websites. So this is your standard main search page. It's got a lot of information on it that you may or may not think you're going to need. But just as an idea, has anybody got an item that they're wanting to look for that we can try and do a search for? Just anything.
Dot multi-fractured base +2 amulet.
Okay.
That'll give you a bit of variation.
Yeah. So, an amulet. So you can go rarity if you're looking for something that's specific. Say you only want a 1 mod base because you want to craft it yourself, you can go magic. You can leave it on rare, but rares are generally more than a couple of mods. So so it's a dot multi +2 amulet. So if you go damage over time, you get your damage over time multiplier. Now these are explicit modifiers. So when I say explicit, I'm referring to basically anything in the main section here. So the prefixes and suffixes, they're an explicit modifier. They basically do exactly as they say, and that's one thing that Path of Exile does reasonably well, is if it says it does something, that is generally what it does.
Wording is very important.
Yes, wording is very important, because some things can be quite confusing based on the way that they're worded, and yeah. But most of the time, if it says it does something, that is literally all it does. So it's quite interesting and quite easy to work with.
Like,
sorry, carry on.
yeah, like on that note, the one thing that I just learned is flat damage to attacks, or just straight flat damage. Like if it says to attacks, if you have a skill that doesn't have an attack tag on it, it's not going to add that flat damage to your build. It's going to do nothing.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a good example for that, what you were just saying. A lot of the time on amulets, you're like, oh, this is giving me flat damage, but
yeah,
like for that one example, added lightning damage, it's just flat added lightning. It doesn't say to spells or to attacks, it's just to everything. So I guess it would be global in that sense.
yeah, yep, absolutely. Yep, thanks, Fatal. Just been asked to talk about the differences between more, increased, and extra, which are 3 terms that you will come across in items. So, more damage is a more multiplier. So, basically, if you've got, say, 100 damage on something, and you give it a more multiplier of, say, another 50 damage, or 50. Hang on, it's probably easier if I show you.
Yeah, this one's a bit more complicated.
Yeah. So if we go have a look at something like, let's have a look at a bow, for example.
I guess this kind of makes more sense with regards to how to scale damage.
Yeah, it's
on
probably
yours.
probably more to. We'll come back to it when we talk to the damage.
That's fine.
Damage thing. So, with regards to the amulet that we were going to look at, so damage over time multiplier, but we want it on a fractured base. So if we scroll down, implicit multiplier, implicit mods are so on amulets and stuff like that, you can get an implicit modifier, which is basically the line right at the top that's standalone. You can get extra stats, you can get life regen, mana regen, all sorts of things. Rings, you get resistances, stuff like that. So implicit modifiers are basically that very, very top line that doesn't change no matter what you do to the item, unless you corrupt it or hit it with something like the Embers or Eldritch currency. And then you've got fractured mods. So fractured mods, so damage over time multiplier, they are these gold mods, and basically they are fixed. Once they're fractured on the item, you can craft, you can scour the rest of the item, you can do whatever you want, but that mod will always stay there. So that is...
I won't change the number.
Yeah, the number doesn't change. You can't once it's fractured, that's it. That is as it stays forever. And then we want all skill gems. Now, when you're looking for things like this, there's so all skill gems, for example, is an amulet mod. If you're wanting it for, say, a weapon, it might be all spell skill gems. And
Sorry,
then,
Scott, did you mention the part about using the tilde in front of the search to get the pseudo match?
no, I have not.
Alright, cool. So if you move your cursor to the left side, put the tilde shift, whatever the button next to 1 is.
Yep.
If you type now, you don't have to type the exact wording anymore. So just go O spell. Yeah, or if
I
you
always
don't
forget to use that.
Yeah, or if you forget something, like for example, when you were looking for the fracture, you know how you have to scroll down to the fracture, you can literally just type like fracture, and then we'll just come back with like, it's just easier to search. See how it shows up on the bottom?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so the tilde is quite useful.
Can you
Sorry.
can you refine it further? So like damage over time or something like that. As a
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
And you don't even need you don't really need to have it in the exact order anymore as well. Like
Right.
yeah, it's like you just type some keywords and it'll just come back. It's quite useful.
Right. Okay, very good. That's something that I have just learnt as well. So, very good. So we've got the damage over time. So if we want to look and say all skill gem, all skill gems. So we will go fire skill gems and all skill gems. So these two mods together are quite hard to get. They are there, but they're very expensive. So there you've got a +2 damage over time multiplier amulet that Mush was looking for. You can then, you know, if you want to see the more expensive ones, you can click on that. The cheapest ones, 13 divine in this instance. So these mods at the top here, these are your implicit modifiers. So a gold amulet is rarity, jade amulet is dexterity, corals regenerate, agate strength and intelligence. So there's various bases and things like that that give you your different implicits. Quite a few items will have them, some don't. So for example, my bow here does not have one. My quiver, however, does. So the quiver, the implicit modifier there is a projectile speed roll. And that's based on the base type of the item. So the feathered arrow quiver is always projectile speed, unless you corrupt it and get something else on it, or use body armors and stuff like that might have a resistance roll or something, and then this one has got Eater of Worlds and Searing Exarch ones, which you get from the Eldritch currency. And those are craftable on body armors and helmets and boots and stuff, but only non-unique stuff. So yeah, the trade window is very there's lots of options. So for example, if I wanted to look for a bow, I want it to be rare. I want it to have now you can look for, say, weapon filters. So attacks per second, I want it to have 1.7 attacks per second minimum. I want to have 1,000 elemental DPS, and you know, you can go search and it will bring up, so you've got a bow, it's 1.79 attacks per second, it's got 2 damage mods, or 3 if you include the physical damage, but I was looking, so it's 1,085 elemental damage because of these 2 rolls here, and the attack speed. Attack speed obviously makes your attacks faster, which means your damage is being dealt more frequently, so your damage is higher. This one's also got a crucible tree on it, but regardless of what it is, you know, you can buy it. So these are base items for, you know, various people to continue crafting on, or, you know, just outright use. Now, say I wanted to have the same mods, but this time I wanted it to be a 6-socketed, 6-linked item. You can come down to the sockets filtering. So if you want it to be 6 sockets, you can fill in that line here. If you want it to be 6 linked sockets, so a 6-link bow, you can put the link in there under the links tab. You don't need to worry about the sockets because it'll automatically calculate it based on the links. If you want it to have a particular combination of socket colors, you can change those, or you can just leave them blank. And then when you hit search, now all of the bows are 6-linked, and obviously the price goes up accordingly, but you know, you can also see on the trade site, so they've got P and a number next to them, and S and a number next to them. So P is for prefix, S is for suffix, and the number next to it is the tier of the mod. So that one there, for example, is a P0. That's an essence mod. And when you hover over it, it says essences over here. The next one, the fire mod there, it's a tier 2 mod. And the cremating is the basically the tag for the level of the mod. It also tells you what level the item needs to be to basically get that mod. So if you're looking for stuff to craft yourself, so the tier 4 lightning mod there needs to be over or equal to level 51, which is the item level of the item, to actually be able to roll that mod.
For an example, with those bows, what if I wanted to block cold damage?
So if you wanted to block cold damage, you can add a stat group called not. Ooh. So you can go add cold damage, and then when you search, it'll actually, hang on, if we go, so obviously with that you can't have 1,000 elemental DPS bow without cold damage, because you can't get it with 2 mods on elemental. But
yeah, no, I was just trying to get you to explain the
yeah,
not.
you can
mod.
filter stuff out with the not tag. The end tag is basically one of the it has to have mods. Then you've got, you know, I don't really know what the if and count are. I've never really used them myself. The weighted sum is the one that it brings up when you do from Path of Building. And the Crucible Tree Path is just the one for the latest league. So that's
So
sort of a bit.
if you want to use if, that blocks suffixes and prefixes. So it'll be like if it has blocked, if it has an open prefix, or if it has, and then it allows you to, if you wanted to get into your crafting, you can potentially craft on it because it'll show you only ones with an open something.
Yeah, you can do that just with the regular stat filters as well, though. So if you just go prefix and go empty prefix modifiers, you just change it to 1, and then it'll come up and
Empty.
say that you've got an open prefix on it.
Oh, okay. So there's 2 ways to do it with that then.
Yeah.
It's good to know.
Yeah. So, you can also, if you want to add in a whole heap of stats, you know, say you want life on it, and then you want an additional arrow or something like that, and you come up and nothing comes through, you can actually deselect particular lines to see what you can come up with. Or you can just delete the line entirely. Now, with armors and stuff like that, you can do the same sort of thing. So you can add in, you want a minimum of, say you want a minimum of 1,000 armor on a body armor, and you want it to be 6 linked. Bam! All of your armors are going to be 1,000 plus. Now all of these are coming through as corrupted. The other thing you can do if you don't want corrupted ones is you can come down here to the corrupted, and you can just go no, search again, and then it gives you your body armors that are 6 linked, uncorrupted, with over 1,000 armor. That is probably not really useful when you're searching for like an armor base. Say you want 1,000 armor or 1,200 armor or whatever. Generally you won't go this route because these are more bases for crafting on, as opposed to actually completed armors. So you could go a 6 link socket, a 6 link armor with 1,000 thing, and say you want life, and you want minimum of 110 life. You want resistances. So say you want cold res, and you want minimum 40 cold res, and then you want fire res as well of 40. You can hit search, and then it brings you up your basically 110 life and over 40 res of cold and fire. And then you've still got basically other mods that you can craft on it to finish the item off, or to, you know, try and do other things with. That's more of an advanced crafting thing. Now, as an example as well, this top line here, you've got P4 plus P3, and then you've got P2 plus P3. These are, it means that there's a life mod and an armor mod, but then there's also a hybrid mod as well. So if you look at something like that, it's going to show up, and you look at it and you go, oh shit, it's only got 2 prefixes, I can craft another prefix on it. You can't. That's got your 3 prefixes and your 3 suffixes. So basically that item, without using an orb of annulment or something like that to try and remove a line from it, that's as the item is. But as you can see, you know, the enveloped plus urchins, and then this is rapturous plus urchins. So the urchins mod is the hybrid armor life, and that's what those two, you know, those 2 lines are. So the P4 plus P3 and the P2 plus P3. Same thing with the suffixes. So this is a hybrid mod for the suffix. which has got what is that? Stun and block recovery and armor. So yeah, so the prefix and suffixes rare items will only have 3 of each. And you can do searches based on, you know, the amount of armor, the amount of energy evasion, energy shield. The armor filters has also got block chance, which is, you know, shields. You can also come down here and search for level requirements. So, you know, if you're in the act still leveling and you're level 57, you can select the max level as 57, and then it'll only show you items that you can wear. You can also set if you've got stat requirements or limits. Say you're running a build that has very low strength, you can set your maximum strength at what your maximum strength is. Say it's 50, and then you can basically so you got a body armor, so you can search for that with low strength and low stat requirements, and it'll show you all of the things for that. You can also search for maps, whether they're blighted, map series. That really only works when you're searching on standard. Map tier, so maps obviously run in tier from tier 1 to tier 16. Then you've got your miscellaneous filters, so if you're searching for gems, so you can search for a minimum quantity, a quality, sorry, and a gem level. So say we were looking for let's say lightning arrow, just because that's what I use. So say you want a minimum of 15 quality, and you want it to be at least, say, gem level 16. Most of them, you know, so there you've got a level 20 and 17% quality one for 2 chaos. That's fine. That's a corrupted one, so you can't fix the quality on it. That one there is 20 and corrupted, but when they've tried to corrupt it, they've dropped the level, because if you have a 20/20 gem and try and corrupt it to get 21/23, which is the highest natural gem level that you can get, you can still gain experience and get this back to level 20. But when the quality drops, you can't go the other way and can't put the quality back onto it, basically. So if you have a look at a level 20, 21 gem, they're obviously a little bit more expensive because they're that higher level. So 17 cast for a 21/20, and it basically gives you an extra mod on the gem. And what else have we got? So you can also go through and have a look and see whether it's a fractured item, whether it's got a crucible trait. Sorry?
Teach me, buddy, teach me.
You've already missed half of it.
I know.
Yeah, and you can also select on the trade website as well your buyout price. So if you've got a limit of the amount of chaos that you want, so you've only got 10 chaos to spend, when you hit the highest pricing, it will only show you the highest limit that you've set. Now, one of the other things for the trade website which is quite handy, is the Better Trading plugin. Now this I believe is only for Google Chrome, but you can create bookmarks for various items. If you want to, if you're scrolling through a list of, say, body armors or anything like that, you can pin items and it adds it to a list over the side so you can see and compare them. And then if you go, right, I decide I want that one, you just hit scroll to the item and it brings it back up on the screen. So it's quite helpful. So say for example, this was from one of my previous builds. So I was looking for a particular set of boots, elusive Tailwind Onslaught boots. They're not worth a hell of a lot anymore, but they were at the time. But you can add your filters and your searches and whatnot, and then you can save it as a particular trade, and then it's basically just a single click to reopen that particular search. So it's very, very handy for if you know that you want something or need something for your build. If you're following a build guide, for example, and you need a particular item with particular stats for, a cluster jewel, for example, you can save the search, and then you can come back to it later on when you've got yourself a bit of currency.
Some streamers make them for build guides too, which is super handy.
Yeah, they do. And that's another path of building thing as well. You can add notes to it with search notes and things like that for it. Yeah, so that pretty much covers the trade site. There's a lot of things that you can sort of search for and add and filter with for it, and quite honestly, I probably don't even use it completely properly, but there's lots of things that you can and will probably try to do with it. So, next we'll go on to POE Ninja. So POE Ninja is just a website. It basically covers things from the economy of the game. So it gives you prices of, how much a mirror is worth, different items. A Divine Orb is 221 Chaos at the moment. It shows you basically right from the league start to current what the price has done, whether it's gone up, whether it's still going up, whether it's coming down. You can also see all the basically everything. Awakener's Orb 30 Chaos. That's actually really cheap compared to previous leagues. Exalt's 14 Chaos. You can search maps, item base types, helmet enchantments, for example. Some people do lab running services, so someone can basically contact you normally through TFT, which is that's a bit more advanced, but someone can contact you and say they're looking for a helmet enchant for Tornado Shot. That's basically going to cost them a Divine. It's probably going to be more than that, but that's basically what the enchant on its own is worth based on this website. So yeah, currency is probably the main one that people use this for. You can go into builds along the top here as well, and it will actually show you basically all of the ascendancies and the percentage of people that are actually playing them. So this league, it seems that Deadeye is the #1 ascendancy. You can also see what main skills people are using. So Righteous Fire and Fire Trap are hands down the biggest percentage of main skills. Lightning arrow is a close second. Tornado shot. So if you have a look at lightning arrow, it will then also show you basically what items are the most commonly used by these people. So if you want to have a look and say, you know, you're looking for the highest DPS lightning arrow build, they've got 79 million. Don't really know. Oh, that's a barrage one. That's okay. But so they're using the Kelm's gloves. You know, it shows you what their bow is, what their helmet, body armor, all of their various items, their cluster jewels. It gives you an overview of their skill tree, how they've got their gem links set up, basically what masteries they've taken, and if you want to import it into Path of Building so you can actually have a look and, you know, play around with stuff, you can copy the import note from Path of Building, and then you just if we go open Path of Building and I'll show you. So under the import here, you can basically paste your code, hit import, and this is that person's build. So you can see what their combined DPS is. So they're 88 million on Barrage. You can have a look, you can see what their cluster jewels are, how they've got their tree run, basically what ascendancy they've taken and what nodes. And you can work a build from that, or you can do whatever you want from it, basically. So they've got an inspired learning in there, which you can see their skill setups, their items, which is all very good, and it makes it easy to sort of see what the you know, the high damage builds and stuff are using, how they're routing their trees. If you want to basically search for a particular item to see whether somebody is using, say, an omniscience, crystallized omniscience, so then it will basically bring up all the builds that are using omniscience. If you want to go down and see Black Sun Crest, for example, that's a stacking thing for crystallized omniscience. You can go in and you can see they're using the Black Sun Crest. That's their gear, their build tree, and you can go based on that. The other thing you can do, if you want to have a look and see what builds are popular for a particular class, you can go, say, Elementalist. So Explosive Arrow, Vortex, Fire Trap, all pretty strong builds. You know, Vortex, you click on Vortex, it gives you all the builds. You can see what people are doing, how they're running their builds. You know, 880k damage over time. It shows you their builds, their jewels, what keystones, masteries, you know. So it gives you a lot of options for searching, and yeah, you can basically see how that top 1% or whatever of the player base actually builds their characters and whatnot. It's a good reference for you if you know, wanting to have a look and see how builds are being done, you know, what gear they're prioritizing, whether they're focusing on, you know, this person's basically got a fractured item everywhere, but you know, what unique items they're using, flasks with what stats. So it's very, very handy website. Yeah. And next is probably one of the slightly more advanced things, and there's actually quite a lot of good guides on YouTube and stuff on how to actually use this for crafting. But basically, you've got Craft of Exile. You can come along, you can choose whether you want body armors, boots, whatever, what sort of base. So if you go just a strength body armor, you can select your item type. So if you're wanting a particular base that you've got, you can come down, you can select basically whether it's an influenced one. You've got your influence mods at the bottom here. And then your base mods. So say you want chaos resistance, it gives you your tiers, minimum tier 2 say, percent armor, and what are we doing? We're going, fuck it, we'll do. So depending on your method of crafting, so say you've got fossils or, you know, essence spamming, or, you know, orb of alteration and then regaling and hoping for the best. So if you go fossils, it'll basically give you a weight of the mods and your percentage of getting them, basically how many chaos it's gonna take you to do it, how many tries. You can also, with fossils, you can compute the best selection, and it'll actually basically work it all out. And then you can say, right, raw efficiency, so it's using those 4 fossils, and it's basically going to cost you 600 chaos to craft it with those particular tiers of mods. Now that's a very broad thing, because those are only 2 mods, so there's a lot of other options that you can get. But if you're trying to filter it down specifically to something, you know, you want flat armor as well, and then you want to say a strength roll or something like that, it will obviously change your percentages. So now it's going to be 172, but if you recompute it, it will change your odds. So, you know, cost efficiency, for example, those ones there. So it might take you up to 350 tries at a cost of 2000 chaos, but you could get those 4 mods that you're looking for. But depending on, again, then that's probably more of an advanced crafting thing. There is certain ways to deterministically get particular mods, so that will be more cost effective than these. For example, harvest crafting or harvest reforges and stuff like that. So if you've got, say you've got an armor that's got flat armor and percent armor, and you want basically chaos res on it, if the rest of, you know, if you've got the 3 prefixes that you want and it's a good base and it's, you know, tier 2, tier 1, or whatever that you're happy to spend on, you could potentially lock the prefixes on the crafting bench and then reforge the item with the harvest craft for reforged chaos to get chaos resistance. That would guarantee your chaos resistance. The tier would be random, but, you know, that would be a way to deterministically get chaos resistance. But like I was saying, crafting is a little bit more in depth, and I'm not especially good at it myself. So there are plenty of videos on YouTube and other places for teaching you how to craft. For example, the Righteous Fire players, which there seems to be so many of this league. Most of them are probably using Pox's website or guides. He's got his own website / wiki for Righteous Fire, and it basically goes through and tells you step by step. He's got videos of basically how to craft gear for early maps once you've just finished the axe for very cheap, 10, 15 chaos, and then you've got an item that's significantly better than what you were using through the axe. So I would suggest going and checking out those people and those videos if you want to get into crafting. Craft of Exile's also got an emulator as well, so you can actually go through and basically choose an armor, add some mods to it from, slap it with a alteration, and then you can, practice annulling, scouring, to basically see how you're going to get on if you're trying to do a particular thing. So if you're using, say, 3 fossils, for example, you can see what sort of mods you're going to get.
Show them how to make an RF chess piece.
I don't know how to make an RF chess piece, so
Oh, are fractured items still in the game?
they are, yes.
Oh, okay.
Do you want to stream and then you can show them?
It's literally just get rid of, scour that whole item.
Yeah.
Go into the, I think it's whichever one the regen is.
What do you mean?
It should be a suffix then, if that's the prefix.
Regenerate life per second?
Yeah. Just fracture that as any. It doesn't matter, any.
Okay.
And then you just regal.
And then regal.
And then you just go into the essences.
Essences.
Next to harvest.
Fucking hell. Yep.
And then you're just looking for chaos essences. And then dreads. Are they dreads?
No.
Envy. Then you use that until you hit your 3rd suffix. Yeah. Which will be a double res like that. Oh no, it's not, sorry. Keep going. They just call it that.
Yeah.
That's fine. And then you lock. Wait, can you lock? Yeah.
Yeah,
And
you
you
can
lock.
lock
You go to
suffixes.
your suffixes can't be changed.
Yeah.
And then you use a I can't remember what that orb is called. Next to the divine orb.
Vowed chaos.
Yeah, you use that.
Standard prefix.
And then you no, you don't do that. Just click any and then click back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got your veiled prefix.
Yeah.
And then you need to lock a certain thing. So
Don't
you look.
normally lock mana.
You do, yeah, but you need to show them how to.
Yeah.
You lock mana. Yeah.
Mana. You just do fucking
Doesn't matter to any.
cheap mana.
Then you can just unveil.
Unveil.
And then you
and
just keep
get-
doing that until you hit life and % life. So click that and then press back.
Yeah.
And then you hit it.
Yeah.
And then that's an RF chess piece done.
Yeah.
Obviously you would go for life. But that's more expensive. Extra life or extra armor on top.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can also do it with cannot roll attack and stuff.
Yeah.
Is that still in the game?
Yep.
Yeah, the cannot roll attack stuff is still in the game.
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
I think RF chess pieces have changed slightly though.
Yeah, I think they use armor.
Yeah.
I think they
They're,
fracture armor now.
There are, yeah, but they're also using mana reservation essences.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, because there's less mana
Oh,
reservation. On
yeah,
the
right.
Yeah, true.
So you can do it that way. It'll be exactly the same way, but you use mana reservation essences,
That's
which
low
are
level essences, yeah.
more expensive. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, but there's a bit of a brief demonstration on crafting semi-deterministically. Obviously, you've got to get the base.
That one's pretty deterministic. You can't fail. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the average essence to hit those two suffixes is really high. Yeah. Especially if you're using chaos, because chaos is the one that doesn't show up often at all.
Yeah.
Hitting T1 lightning res is like 1 in 5 essences or something like that.
Oh, yeah. Cool. Oh, well. Yeah. So, I think we've pretty much covered most of the stuff that everyone was looking for today. Or just as a sort of a start.
Watchstones.
Yes, Voidstones. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So,
Or getting
basically-
void stones.
yeah.
Spy carry.
So, on your
Get good.
Atlas tree, I haven't actually got any yet because I'm still fucking around and...
Of course you fucking haven't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course you haven't.
But basically, you follow your quest log. So basically, the first two that you're generally going to get are your Eater of Worlds and your Searing Exarch. So basically, just select them on your map device when you're running tier, up to tier 16 maps. And once you hit tier 16, they will actually drop an invitation to them. You go in and kill them, and that'll get you your first two Watchstones. And then from there, probably the easiest way is to just buy a carry. Get someone from the guild to do it, or TFT is the other way to do it. If I go...
TFT's great. I bought Maven and Uber Elder kills before I even did the other two Void Stones in the first week for like 120C. It's the best investment you can ever make.
Yeah. So, in TFT, you can literally go down here and go Crucible Softcore Services, Boss Carries, and basically you can just message people and say, I want your Maven, I want your Uber Exarch, I want your Elder, whatever. Pay them the 30, 40C, 50C or whatever it is. Most of them are running them regardless, and if you join in, you just don't pick up any loot. So that's fine. See, this one here, for example, is your map, your loot, so you have to supply the actual invitations and stuff. So yeah, but that's basically the cheapest and easiest way to get the other two Void Stones for your Atlas. So normally you've got 4 in here. Yeah, that's probably the easiest way to start on with it.
You take
can
them out,
also-
makes your Maven fight easier.
Yeah. You can also
Makes
get...
all bosses easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing as well, on the map device, I've currently only got 4 slots. The way to get a 5th slot is to do a 5-way. Now, again, that is a TFT thing, or unless one of the people from the guild are running them, or whatever. But again, you basically go in, look for the 5-way carries, message the people, get an invite, pay them your currency, At the moment, I think it's 3 divine for 5 runs, or 2 divine for 5 runs, or something.
Only
And
1 for 3 and 2 for 6, but they've changed.
Yeah, but you pay them your currency, and then you basically go in and basically, if you survive the entire thing and don't leave, which fucks up the whole run if you do, so don't do that. If you die, just stay dead. You'll still get the completion for it, and you'll still get your extra map slot. You just won't get any XP from the run. People generally use them as a way to level up from sort of early 90s to level 100, or anywhere in between there. But it gives you your extra map slot, so you can run basically 4 scarabs or whatever on your map device, as well as a map. And yeah, so that's we'll talk a little bit about scaling damage as well. So probably the easiest skills to scale damage is spells, because gem levels are important. Basically, spells scale far easier with gem levels and than say attacks. Attack skills don't generally scale very well with gem levels by comparison. And then basically going on top of the base damage, you have flat damage, which is basically like here I've got the 2 cold damage and lightning damage nodes and the crafted fire damage, which is basically a flat number. It gives you a range, but it is a number as opposed to a percentage. Because if you've got an item that's say 100 damage and you get 10% increased damage, you're only going to be dealing 110 damage. If you then go and get a mod that's got, say, adding, say that fire damage, it's 40 to 85 fire damage. So if you sort of take it right down the middle, sort of say 50 damage, your attack is dealing 150 damage instead of 110. So always aim to get as much flat damage as you can. It's the same with like armor and evasion and things like that as well, for defensively. But skills for attacks and stuff, flat damage is always preferred over percent damage. Most of the stuff that you get on the skill tree is percent based, so that's why you want your gear to have as much flat bonuses as possible, because a higher base, when scaled percentage wise, is more than if you're just scaling percent off of the original base damage. Because if you've got a weapon with 100 damage and you've got 250% damage on the skill tree and nothing on your gear, you're only going to be doing 250 damage from your weapon. But if your weapon and your gear has got flat damage on it, and then your base damage, so if you've got, so this weapon, for example, is 600 elemental DPS. So if we make it, say, 500 just for a round number, so if you've got 500 base damage from your weapon instead of 100, and then you increase it by 250% from the tree, all of a sudden you're dealing 1500 or no 1250 damage instead of 250. So flat damage is basically king for scaling your damage, and that's where a lot of people get a little bit confused because they think, oh shit, I've got 10% here, 10% there, and think it stacks. It doesn't. It's basically one base damage pool, and you're adding 10% and 10% and 10%, and then you're only getting 30% overall damage on your base number, not on where you're up to at the point. Now, Shaky, you're probably a bit better to talk about this than I am because I'm not 100% sure on it. But the difference between more, increased, and extra in regards to damage and stuff?
I don't know. I just get it.
Okay.
It's like I don't know that. I don't know. You'd be better fast and hard. There's just like a secret little multiplier.
Yeah. So
It
increased
doesn't
damage.
show up.
Yeah. So increased damage, like increased elemental damage with attacks. So that is basically increasing the damage that these are adding. So it's a multiplier before the percentage based from your skill tree and stuff. Then you've got a more multiplier, which from memory is basically a takes whatever your base damage is and then multiplies it rather than adds to the damage. So if it's I think there's actually an essence that does it. This one here. So socketed gems deal 30% more elemental damage on the helmet. So that means that whatever gems you've put in there, the gem base damage. So for example, if we're looking at say lightning arrow, the damage based on there is 9 to 179. So it takes that and it multiplies it by 1.3. So it'll end up being 200 or just over 200 lightning damage as a base, and then you've got your percentages added to it on top of that. And then the extra basically converts, you generally see it as a conversion, so it'll take your total damage, convert some of it to a different element, and then add it to your damage, and that's as an extra. At least that's how I understand it. There's probably people out there that can explain it a lot better than I can, and at some stage we will update that and add it to the list. But yeah, for now that's all I've got for you. So to those of you who have been here and stuck around, thank you.
You're welcome, buddy.
Well done.
Yeah. And
Thanks,
I will
mate.
save this and add it onto the Discord server for the people that didn't get a chance to. Yeah, so thanks.